like, subscribe, press the bell icon for more updates. For more videos, download our app from Play Store. Advanced Technology Workshop, Introduction to Machine Learning and Data Science with Python.
It is my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all the students that have joined, Nilofer ma'am and the expert for today's session, Mr. Sushant Mohan sir, on behalf of PHN Technology Private Limited. Thank you for joining us today for the very first webinar of Machine Learning and Data Science with Python. As you all know, technology is evolving at a rapid pace, and we at PHN Technology Private Limited are committed to staying ahead of the curve and providing innovative solutions to our clients. I'm thrilled to be here today to introduce you about our company and exciting opportunities we are offering for the students. As you might be knowing, we started as a robotics company in 2013, but we have since evolved into dynamic software development and IT firm, as well as in business solutions in digital marketing, in Android development, and the field of IoT development. Our mission is to provide a technology-based learning platform to all the students in India and effective software products to our clients. We are committed to leveraging technology to make education accessible to everyone and help our clients to achieve their career goals. Now, I'm delighted to introduce our esteemed trainer for today's session, Mr. Sushant Moon sir. Sushant is a machine learning fanboy, coding enthusiast, and he's obsessed with exploring computer vision with deep learning and its application in natural language processing. Sushant has 2 years of experience, 2 years of work experience, during which he tackled the data engineering and data science challenges. He's always on the lookout for opportunities to learn, grow, and challenge himself to solve the real world problems faced in the industry in day-to-day life. Okay, so without wasting your time, I would like to request Mr. Sushant sir to proceed with the session. Sushant sir, over to you.
Thanks, Nia. Yeah. Hi, folks. Let me just start with sharing my screen. Just give me a second. So everybody, am I audible? I can see few people who are not able to hear anything. So just do let me know if sound breaks or something, right? Yeah. So hi everybody, I'm Sushant Moon, data scientist at Amazon Web Services India. Yeah. So I have been working in the industry for the past 7 years, primarily as a data scientist. I think yeah. Okay. So primarily as a data scientist, I have been working in the capacity of data scientist for the past 7 years. Right. And this and today I welcome you to introduction to machine learning with Python, right? So do I say this is an introduction? This is more like a teaser session on what you would be learning in today's workshop, which is going to be held in the coming days, right? So I don't think I would need to emphasis on what machine learning is, but still for the folks who are new, right? Machine learning is a group of techniques and procedures which involve programming your systems, that can be mobile, PC, laptop, servers, anything, to learn from the data that is fed into it, right? And then based on the learning from the data, solve some of the challenges which are similar to the data your system was trained on. Right. Okay, going. Right. So now you want to know, okay, where this machine learning is being used and why you should be learning about it. Right? So nowadays all the banks are going digital, right? Post COVID, all the banks went went digital, and like they have been using extensively. Like, hello, is the voice not clear?
Yes, sir, you're audible properly.
Okay, I think a few of the students who joined a facing issue, maybe they can rejoin the session so that they would get the voice better. In any case, yeah, going ahead, yeah. So all the banks post COVID moved towards digital banking, right? Right now, all you have to do is basically do a eKYC to open your savings account in a bank, right? So in that case, like scanning your PAN card, Aadhaar card is all that they require. Like they get a small video call, and they do and that's it. That's it. With few basic questions, that's all it is required for them to get the details for opening a bank account. So that's where image and speech recognition as well as video recognition is coming into the play and is being heavily used. All the e-commerce applications like e-commerce company like Meesho, Amazon, Flipkart, Swiggy, you name it, they have to deal with fraudulent transactions. So what I mean by fraudulent transaction is that like any kind of fraud, transactional fraud, the credit card fraud, address fraud. So there are different types of frauds which are happening nowadays, and uh, so these e-commerce firm have to tackle these frauds on day-to-day basis, and that's where fraud detection is extensively used, right? Then there are all manufacturing companies, be it MRF, CED, or let's say manufacturing of generators, right? So any manufacturing industry like that, you take it, steel, aluminium, petroleum, Reliance, like example like a Reliance, right? All of them basically are wanting to maximize their profits, right? They don't want their machine to go downtime, have any downtime, or break down while there is operation going, right? Because this will involve them, the technician go like the machine breaking the complete assembly cycle, pausing so that the technician so that the technician can go ahead and solve the challenge, like the issue which is there. So that's where they are using predictive maintenance to fix the engine or the refinery or any piece of running instrument on the manufacturing line, right, before it even breaks down, right? Then each of the video streaming platform that you guys know of, like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Josh, anything like even e-commerce platform, they basically offer you personalized video feeds or uh, so all of them basically give you a personalized video feed for your video feed or product recommendation for your purchase, right? As per your taste. So the use cases are endless, right? Even in healthcare, I have seen customers, like I have seen companies using MRI, CT scan, sonography, and others to identify tumors in lungs, heart, in lungs, brain, and different parts of the body, right? Using ECG to detect irregularities in the heartbeat, right? So these kind of uh, these kind of things which are like knowledge which is very much accumulated by doctors over the years, right? Which is generally not available, like experienced doctor, the knowledge which is there with experienced doctor, which is not available in rural areas, right? So this is how machine learning algorithms are enabling the doctors which are at rural places, right, to detect early on what the symptoms are, like what's happening with the making a diagnosis for the patient and starting early treatment. Okay, so that's where in healthcare, that's how in healthcare industry machine learning and data science is being used. Yeah. And then for forecasting, right? Forecasting services are essential for any industry, like any company who is maintaining an inventory, right? For of stocks or like any goods which are to be sent to distributors and so on. So this becomes essential, like forecasting the need in the market, right? So to meet the demand and supply, so that they don't lose the money on either over buying the goods which are there in their godown or overselling their goods, right? So they are on a very I would request folks to stop annotating directly on the screen. The slides would be shared at a later date. That way you'll be getting hands. Just a second. Yeah.
Hey, sir.
Yeah. Any questions?
Can you give an example that where the machine learning is used in the inventory? Because I am currently working on a model that will predict the stock and order dates to complete the order. So can you give an example where the you are saying that machine learning is using inventory?
Yeah.
So I can take a reference for that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, like forecasting, right? Forecasting whether in for any inventory, right? Any let's say any owner of a godown, right? He would want to know, okay, what is the forecast on next coming 6 months and how much of good that he should be stocking on, right? Let's say if he understocks the goods which are present in his inventory, right? Then he has a, like, he would be basically missing a opportunity to earn more. But let's say if he overstocks, then he is basically missing, like he basically lost the money in keeping the all the goods which is there in his godown itself. So that's how forecasting comes into the play when you talk of inventory as well. Okay. Oh, sorry. So we have a question. Voice. I think is everybody able to hear the voice, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would recommend folks to use a headpiece to get the voice properly, right? So you can. Okay. So moving ahead. So like in any machine learning life cycle, like what you would be wanting, what you would be needing is basically first you would be wanting to connect to the problem, right? There are different there are different business requirements which are there, right? Let's take an example of insurance industry, right? In that case, let's say the company wants to know what should be the price of any policy that it wants to sell to its customer, right? So usually the price of a policy totally depends on whether the customer is likely to make a claim in the coming 1 year, right? So that's how basically, like as you have noticed, like people who are aged, right? Like who are senior citizens, it's very hard for them to get a like the premium that they pay to get health insurance is pretty high as compared to the premium that a person who is of younger age would have to, like who is young, right? Who's in his 20s or 30s would have to pay. So that's basically because of the person would be very much likely to make a claim. So that's how, like now to relate to this problem, like how this basically falls into the pitch, like you would have to map this business problem into a machine learning problem where you would be saying, okay, let me frame this exact business problem into something like I will be predicting whether a customer would be making a claim or not in the next 1 year, right? So all the policies that the insurance company will have, he will go through it look for all the people who made the claims within 1 year and all the people who did not make the claims in 1 year, and use that data set to basically create the classification model, right? So once you have the data, then you would be tasked with preparing the data. So what I mean by preparing the data is essentially like at times the data sets are distributed, right? Let's say, for example, you would the demographic data which is pertaining to the customer, like to a person, would be present in, let's say, on a state level, like for a particular state, this is the climate, this is how the terrain is, let's say. Then for a particular district, what the local agricultural state looks like, then for that particular person, like these two data sets can be something in like one data set, right? In one database, and then let's say for the details about that particular person would be in some other database. So now these two data sets has to be merged in a single source, right? And that data has to be transformed, right? So for example, there would be cases where for certain policyholders, the data set itself would be like some data points would be missing, right? So what to do with those missing data points, right? So those kind of preparing the data, that those kind of steps goes into preparing the data. And then let's say like once the data is prepared, you would be wanting to implement an algorithm, basically train a model, right? Fine tune the model, like right. So like depending, so in this case, the data that we are wanting is, the problem that we are wanting to solve is particularly a classification problem. So you'd be training, like you'd be picking one of the classification problem, example like XGBoost, random forest, decision tree, bagging boosting, and so on. Like you'll be also looking into unsampling of the models to solve this particular challenge, right? So once you fix the algorithm, you'd be tweaking the model by changing its different hyperparameters, right? You'd be so once hyper parameters are also selected, right? Like you optimize these model for a particular training metric, right? To have with hyperparameter optimization frameworks which are available, like Neptune, Optuna, and so on, right? So once these hyperparameters are also fixed, like you saw, okay, a particular set of hyperparameter is giving me the best output for a model. So you fix that hyperparameter and then move ahead to deploying the model. So I see in chat, feature selection becomes part of preparing the data set itself, right? Feature selection comes in before training itself, right? Yeah. Okay, so all of these different steps are something that we'll be looking into when we are talking in details in the 2-day workshop that is going to be there, right?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Yes, question.
So sometimes there are some features that has high scalability from others. Like if we have income earned by the age, so if age is small parameter and income is slightly higher parameter than age, so income will be like in 50,000 or higher, but age is like in the tens, like 50, 25. So as per model, did it affect the model, or it depends on the model?
So
which we are
this
using?
step basically comes into preparation of the data set, right? So it totally depends on the algorithm that one will be using, right? Some algorithms are agnostic. For some other algorithms, you would want to normalize all the columns which are there. So these are the steps that you will be learning about in the workshop itself, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So going ahead. So what is usually required? Like what would be required for writing your any machine learning project or data science project that you would be having, right? So first you'd be you'd be needing to know programming, right? Like Python. Sorry, I got muted. Yeah. So Python is the language which generally all the people where the ML models are being built on, right? So then there is after programming language, then you'd want to know data analysis, and then you'd also want to know data visualization, right? You'd want to know what the different features are there present, and what's the behavior that they all have. So these kind of data analysis visualization is something that you would be going to be learning, right? Then you to like taking it a step further, like once the data is visualized, once you know what feature engineering needs to be done, what feature selection needs to be done, right? You'll be wanting to train the algorithm, right? So knowing which algorithm to use and when is also an essential skill which is there. So that is also something that we'll be learning. We'll be also talking about different frameworks, libraries which are needed, and how cloud computing helps you when you would want to scale your model for general public to use, right? So yeah, so that's
Sir, these
yeah,
are
question.
these are the topics that the programming, data analysis, and visualization. So we means like when we using data science, when we are making a project. So these are the things we can use it in the project.
So what I mean is, these are the things you should be knowing about.
Okay.
When like you should be learning and knowing when you'd want to build any project, and these are the steps which we will be talking about in our upcoming workshop.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, okay, before I get to the actual syllabus, let me give you a taste on how usually the code looks like, right? And what in actual code, hands-on code that you would be learning, right? So, just a second here. Yeah. So the very first, you would be learning to know, okay, what libraries which are there available for us to use, right? You'd be knowing, okay, in this case, I'm using a public data set, right? So best to learn, there are public data sets which are readily available for everybody to learn from, right? So in this case, I'm using a customer churn example of a telecom company. Essentially, this churn means whether a person would be leaving that particular telecom company or not, right? So for each of the customer, we have the number of, so what's his state, account length, like what is the total number of days he was there as a customer, the area code, the phone number, whether he's an international plan, whether he has how many calls he made during the day, how many calls he made during the night, what are the charges, etc. Right? So for him, so all of this data is there as in public, right? So in the workshop, we will be learning into how these different features interact with our final churn column, right? So final column that we want to predict, right? So we'll be looking into what are the different observations that we have, right? Total for each of the state, how many total observation that we have, right? So and then we'll be also looking into what is the total distribution of like how many counts are there for each of the different features that we have, right? Let's say account length. This doesn't seem to be a very useful feature because everything looks in the graph. It looks everything looks very much similar, right? But let's say in voicemail messages, right? A zero is like a lot of users have zero voicemail messages. Maybe it's not a very good feature which is provided by the company, right? But then all rest of them looks like bell shape, right? So what should be the insight that should be made out of such graphs, right? This is what we'll be learning in the workshop. And then now after plotting and everything, we know, okay, phone number as such is a unique for each of the users, so we can straight away ignore it, right? So we would be learning, okay, what columns to drop, basically how to feature select, right? And then we'll be also taking a look into yeah.
These are the features we are using for this programming.
Yeah, so these are the columns, features as in columns, right? Different
Okay.
columns which are there. So we'll be like any data set that you come across, right? You'd be the workshop would be teaching you how to basically transform these different features, like how to use these features, which features should be used in final model building, which features should not be used, right? We'll be learning about these techniques
Okay.
in the workshop, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like we'll be also looking at for each of the different feature, what should be the like what is the distribution, right? What should be made out of these numbers that we're seeing, right? For let's say for state AK, the number of churn which happened, right? Was like only 1 point, sorry, like 0.018415, like that, only that much of total elements, only these many churned, but rest of them did not, right? So these numbers look very low, but how we should be taking out insights out of these numbers. So this is what we would be learning in the upcoming workshop, right? So if you look at it, let's say so see, day minutes it seems like a very interesting feature. So where in the plot we can see the people who didn't churn out, who didn't leave the telecom company, usually talk for a very small time during the day, right? And basically the mean of these values is near to 0 and is between 0 to 5. But the people who basically churned out, the day minutes is higher, right? So the mean is around 5 to 10, right? So this seems like a very important feature. So how to identify such features out of the graph itself, right? So that is what we would be learning, right? So once we do exploratory data analysis, we plots all the chart, we look at the scatter plots, how to make insights out of it. We will be learning, okay, which columns to drop, which columns to keep for building the model. Once we have fixed on the features that we have, right, then we will start the training, right? We will train the model. We will then when we are satisfied, we will basically fix we will basically then deploy the model for our customers to use, right? The end user to use, right? And then basically make the predictions, right? So this is one example where you'd be learning from scratch, like how scratch as in scratch of the data, like you'd be building the model right from the scratch. But at times, given how data and machine learning models are democratized, like you must have also heard about chat GPT, right? Which is basically clearly making waves in the industry, right? So one such example would be, let's say, like this itself is chat GPT. So Bing, basically Microsoft Bing basically integrated chat GPT in its search. So let's say if I ask for okay, I will just put a simple query, explain quantum computing in simpler terms, right? So I'm just asking the simple question, and it itself is starting to give out the results, right? How to basically learn quantum computing and so on. So this itself, this as a service has been integrated directly into Microsoft Bing. So this becomes, so like ChatGPT was a model which was built by some other company, and it's already being used by some other company, right? So how that happens, right? So how this also, like we'll also be looking into how these models can be used, right? How you can use the models which are already trained and open source available to you, right? So for example, I will be showing you, in this case, I'll be showing you a text to image example, right? So in this case, I'm using a model which was built by Stability AI called Stable Diffusion. So what I'm so this model is publicly available, right? So though it runs on GPU, right? It can be like, in case you have availability of the GPU, you can go ahead and try that model. It is available publicly, right? So there are use cases when the company that you are wanting to get into might be working with the models which are already available open source. So it becomes essential for you to learn how to basically use such models to build like how to use such models to build applications out of it, right? So I basically just selected the stability.ai model. And then once
Sir,
everybody please stop annotating on the screen itself, right? You'll be getting the slides. Yeah, sorry, continue.
sir, sir, can you please give a overview on text the Vinci 003 this API on this API?
Which particular API are you talking about?
Sir, OpenAI free API takes the Vinci 003, which you are saying that the ChatGPT is using the whatever that takes the Vinci 003, sir.
See, each of the models, for each of the such model that you are wanting to look into, right? So it's best for you to look first into its documentation, right? So that's the first step. If you are wanting to, if you are wanting to get that model, import that model and use that model, first step would be get into its documentation, right? Let's say I'm showing you an example for stability, a model from Stability AI. So it might well as be the free API which is available by OpenAI company, right? So it depends. Like they have open source it. Go look into the documentation on how to use that, right? So in this workshop, like in the workshop that is going to be there, we'll be learning how open sourced models which are there. The service that you're talking about is a free API where you just send a payload and get the response back, which is already up and running, right? But we are talking about the models like the pickle file, the artifacts, how to use those to build application, which is something similar to what OpenAI is already doing, the service that you're wanting to look into, right? So how to use the base model artifact, the model which is already trained by somebody else, how to fine tune them to get it to solve our use cases, right? So in this particular case, what it did is I basically asked it to, like, the text I input is cottage in an impressionist style. So this model basically gave me this particular image. Let's say if I rerun this, it will take some time, but like till this gets printed, I will talk about another example where I give the input astronaut on a horse, right? So with this, I got this image as an output, right? So this was totally generated by image. I did not feed any image to this inference, to the inference that we made, right? So I just give it astronaut on a horse and I just run it, and in some time it will basically give me the output, right? Let's check out the previous one. Yeah. So this is the new image, which is.
Sir, excuse.
Yeah.
So one question. So whatever you are just writing on the screen, it is the output. Just.
No. See. So this particular model by Stability AI takes in text and gives out image. So by text, I am giving it input as like I want an image which has a astronaut on a horse. So with this input, with different parameters, right? So guidance scale, width, height of the image, and so on. It's basically giving me. So this is the new image which was printed, right? This was totally generated by the model, like the machine learning model, which is built, which we are using to build an application out of, right? Let's say,
Sir,
yeah, go on.
So the computer is only printing that image. No, you are not just describing the link in the program. No.
No. I am not. Like
you are just inputting. You are just inputting the whatever the image you want. You are just inputting that, and the output is coming with the PC
computer.
only.
The machine is basically generating the image. So this image does not exist in the real world, right? This image
okay.
is generated right now as soon as I had executed this astronaut on a horse, this particular task, like this particular input went to the machine learning model, right? So
Okay,
yeah,
we just wanted to just give an input and input anything, and we just wanted to give the size of the image, and it will print.
yeah,
Therefore,
depends on how what basically the requirement is. What I'm the crux of what I'm trying to say is, uh, in the industry there are a lot of different companies who basically want to use the open source models which are already there, right? Uh, there are there are companies just like how ChatGPT was directly integrated into Bing, Microsoft, the search engine, right? Bing search engine. That's how, like, there are different applications which are being built with the open source model which were already trained. So we should be like, we as a data scientist, like who want to be data scientists, should be learning on how to use such models, right? Because as individually we don't have the capacity to train such large models, and hence like it becomes essential for us to know how to use large models. So
okay, sir.
let's look at another example. Let's keep the questions for the end. We are kind of running out of time. Yeah. So even though these models are trained on a very large set, these models are not always true, right? Let's say I use the same payload which I used in the last example, right? Astronaut on a horse, but but tweaking it, like I gave the same parameters, but basically it generated an image which does not have a horse, right? So these models are all these models are not foolproof, but you can fine tune it for your domain to get better results, right? So let's say let me show you some different examples, right? So I gave it a list of texts, right, one after another, to generate images. So like I first was a beautiful illustration of a young cybertronic Hyderabadi American woman, and with cat eye glasses, purple colors, and so on, right? So for this particular image, the image for this particular text, this is the image which was generated. So this was generated completely by the image, by the machine itself, right? And in the I would request folks to stop drawing. Like, in case not interested in the session, please drop the call, right? It will be better for others. Yeah, so let's say, like in the third example, I was looking for a portrait of Nicolas Cage with long hair, in the wind, like happy smile, wise. So basically, I described what kind of image I want, and the output which the computer generated. The output that this is the output that the computer generated, right? So you basically, like, you're just giving a text and the computer itself is generating. So if in the second example, we ask for a hyper realistic render of an interior with a beautiful decorated cozy kitchen by Pixar, Greg, and like we basically describe what is the type of image that we want, right? So this is the image which is generated. So nobody would be able to know, okay, whether this is a real image or a fake image which was generated by the computer, right? So this is why it becomes of essence to know how to use large models as well. Okay, coming back to the slides. So this is all what you would be learning in the workshop, for which you would be getting the knowledge in coming slides. Yeah. So in this workshop syllabus, you'll be getting to know a basic introduction to machine learning, okay? How to do data processing, regression, classification, clustering, dimensionality reduction, how to evaluate the models, how to deploy the models, as well as how to use publicly open source dataset models as well. Yeah. So that's the syllabus for the upcoming workshop. Now I hand over to Sneha.
On behalf of PHN Technology, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks and appreciation to everyone who joined this program on machine learning and data science using Python. Also, thanks to Nilofer ma'am.
Thank
We
you.
also express our sincere gratitude to our esteemed trainer, Mr. Sushant Moon sir, who shared their expertise and helped us to deepen our understanding in machine learning and data science. Okay, so I will again thank all the participants who took this time to attend this program and actively engaged in the discussions. Your enthusiasm and commitment to learning is really encouraging us to move further with our missions. I would request you all to please be attentive as the certificate you will get of this workshop is based on your attendance of workshop. Thank you again. You can leave the meeting.
For more videos, download our app from Play Store.